Finna do a little black magic, and that's cast iron. Our most requested tips. Stick around. Thank y'all for dropping by. You know, we did a video, my top 5 cast iron tips. Well, my gosh, you'd think we was giving away money because that thing got 256,000 views on the YouTuber deal. We're going to give you 5 tips on a whole bunch of questions that people have been asking us about cast iron. Stick around because we finna let her go. I can count to 5, I promise. I get this question a lot, no matter where I'm at. Hey, can you boil water in cast iron, or can you make beans in cast iron? Well, you can, but they ain't gonna come out right. You know, Ken, I was boiling some beans in my cast iron and they turned black. I didn't burn them, and they wasn't black beans when I started. There's navy beans. They'll even taste bad, because when you're boiling over 212 degrees, and that's hot enough that you continue boiling, you're gonna turn some of your seasoning loose that you have in your Dutch oven. It's going to give you a black oily film sort of on top, and it don't taste real good. Now, if I'm going to cook stew, and I cook a lot of it, I'm probably just going to use an old bean pot. It's just enamel. I've used them old Teflon bottom pans, navy aluminum pots. You can get by with them because they're not seasoned. Now, people always ask, well, can't you boil stuff in them? Sure, when you're cooking casseroles and stuff like that, you're bringing stuff to a boil. But it's not strictly just a water base. Tip number 2, say, I heard you couldn't cook no barbecue sauce, or you couldn't cook chili, or you couldn't cook no tomato-based products in cast iron. It's hard on it. It is hard on it. The acid in anything that's in food is hard on cast iron. Citric acid out of cobblers, barbecue sauce based meals, something like that, tomato based, it eats at your seasoning. It begins to turn it loose. It begins to decay around it. You'll see it go to flaking in places. But even though it's hard on your cast iron, you can still cook that in your cast iron. What do you got to do? Make sure when you're through with it that you clean it properly. I'm talking good hot water. Make sure there isn't any of that residue left from any of that tomato base, any barbecue sauce. Then we're going to dry it out over a heat surface, and we're going to re-season it every time. That's not just if you're cooking this tomato-based, acid-based stuff, but every time you use it. So remember, you can cook those things in it. It's a little hard on your seasoning, but just remember to clean and re-season well. My number 3 tip, folks, and we've talked about this before in some videos, but this is a good time of year to bring it out. It's February and it's still cold in my country, and that's pre-warming cast iron. Now, this stuff is cold right now. It's probably 40 degrees in here. I wouldn't just set it on the fire and go to cooking. Pre-warm it. I'm going to set it over there by a heat source, that being old Bertha, and I'm going to rotate it round and round till it gets to be body temperature. Then I know it's safe to cook in it. And you get through cooking it in it, you can't just set it out there in the snow to cool it off. You'll end up having 2 halves instead of 1. Gradually warm and gradually cool your cast iron. Number 4, I'm going to grab this old Wardway skillet. It's good iron if you can find some of it. This has been in my family for a long, long time. People ask me this, I've got my skillet seasoned really well. It's got a shine just like yours, Kent. But when I go to fry a piece of meat or something in there, it sticks. Well, one thing you got to remember, you're taking a cold piece of meat and putting in something that's not as hot as it maybe needs to be. Let that meat warm up just a little before you use it. I'm not saying give it an hour. I'm just saying bring it out of the refrigerator, let it warm a little. Make sure your cast iron is hot before you go to cooking it. That way, when that meat hits that, it's not just going to take a hold. People ask me, say, well, what is searing? You know, when you sear a piece of meat, what are you doing? Locking in the flavor. You're shutting the door on both sides of that steak or whatever you're searing to keep that moisture in, to keep that flavor. Now, when I get ready to sear something, especially if I'm in the house or something like this, I'll take this old skillet. I'm going to preheat that oven to 450 degrees. I'm going to slide that rascal in there. I'm going to let it go 15, maybe 20, 25 minutes because I want it to be good and hot. I'm going to light the burner and put it on high. I'm going to slap that skillet on there. I didn't lose no heat. In fact, I'm hotter than that burner might have got it right now. Just a little dab of oil right then. You can't put it in there at the first because you're going to scorch it. Then I'm going to sear that meat. You can't preheat this or a Dutch oven if you're going to start to cook bread in it. Because when you preheat that, then you put that bread in there, it's not rising, it's cooking. All right, folks, drum roll. Here, number 5, probably the thing that I believe in the most. I never put something in my cast iron that I'd be afraid to put in my mouth. So that goes with how I take care of rust, how I season, and how I clean. Look on the Google thing, there is lots of ways it'll tell you to take care of rust, and one of the popular ones that's out there is get you some of that there oven cleaner. Spray it in here, then you tie it up in a trash bag. I'll tell you something. Do you gargle with that stuff? No, that stuff is not good for you, I promise you. And the reason for that, folks, is cast iron has pores in it. When it gets hot enough, it's going to absorb that stuff in there. What's it going to do later? Turn it loose. I don't like oven cleaner. I like food. So let's talk a little about seasoning. I'm a natural kind of guy. As you can tell, I'm naturally beautiful and handsome all the time. But I like to use natural-based products in here. Olive oil, flaxseed oil, some of the best. Now, I've used regular oil for years. I did. Now, you can buy this stuff in a tube at some of them sporting goods stores. It's called pre-season all at once. Just squirt a little in there, wipe it around in there, and you're good to go. Look on the label, folks. It'll say right down there at the bottom all them chemical names it's got in there, and it'll say do not ingest. I think that's a proper way for saying don't eat it. So if can't eat it, don't put it in there. I seen my mother take this skillet and put it in a dishwasher. And I would cringe, and I'd say, Mama, you ain't supposed to do that. You know it's hard on cast iron. You know what she'd tell me? Don't argue with your mama. But I finally got her convinced because I kept letting her do this time after time after time again. What happened? Went to eating away at the seasoning. I don't ingest soap. I don't eat soap. Well, let me take that back. One time I said a bad word in school and Mama made me eat some soap and that cured it. I don't want soap in my cast iron. It'll taste like soap sometimes, but also it's going to take away at your seasoning that you've got built up. So there's a lot of debate. There's people out there that tell me, I wash mine with soap every time I use it. Hey, I'm just telling you, this has worked for me for 40-something years of cast iron. If I can't eat it, I ain't putting it in there. And seeing as how I like y'all and y'all seem like good people, it's not one of them deals where it's $19.95 and if you call now you get something from free. I'm going to give you a bonus anyway. What do you cook in cast iron if you got a new piece and you got it refinished? Bacon. If you'll fry bacon in that thing at first, and then fry potatoes in there, it helps build that seasoning because cast does love some starch, and that tater is going to give it. So you got something you're working on, you had to re-season, start back frying bacon in there. I like mine about half crispy, 2 eggs, and some hash browns, so holler at me. Folks, thank y'all for dropping by. We appreciate it more than ever, I promise you. We don't take it for granted. I ask you to click that little button down there at the bottom that says subscribe. You'll be getting a lot of YouTube videos, but also a lot of recipes, a lot of great information. Thank you, and God bless you.